Truckus, ruckus. The harbour yards had been a very chaotic place since Millie was at the works, and the other engines had to fetch their own trains. They were very cross with it. Especially Alfred, who was complaining about it. He complained about work, fetching his own trains, and most of all, the railway. One morning, the engines were at the sheds before they could get ready for work. Alfred was still complaining. "This is stupid," complained Alfred. "We shouldn't have to get out of our sheds and have to fetch our own trains," he said. All the other engines grew tired of Alfred's complaints, especially James. "It's no use sitting there moaning about everything," he said. "Well, you do that all the time," said Percy, but James ignored Percy, and still Alfred went on. We shouldn't have to be disrespected like that," said Alfred. I suggest that we together can go on strike until a new shunter comes here," he boasted. This reminds me of a story, said Edward, even though he was not going to tell the story to Alfred. About 3 engines that went on strike. Their names were Henry, Gordon, and "I think I've had enough," said James, as the turntable turned towards him and he puffed out of the sheds to collect his train. "What's up with him?" said Alfred ungratefully. He sounds like he's in a foul mood. "I think he doesn't want to talk about the time Henry and Gordon went on strike," said Emily. "Oh," said Percy, and when Gordon, Henry and James were in strike," said Percy, the Fat Controller brought a little green tank engine to take their jobs away if they didn't behave." "Really?" said Alfred. "And whatever happened to him?" He was avoiding work. He was trying to avoid the Fat Controller's work for a few hours," said Edward, "until the Fat Controller found out and scrapped him." Alfred was not convinced. "What a silly little story to make up," he said. "And what a silly little story to make up," he complained. "But Alfred," said Percy, "it's true. He was nowhere to be seen. He was no longer on this railway, so he was sent packing and got scrapped by the other diesels." Alfred was shocked. "Well," he said, "I'd better do my work quickly before I get sent away and join him," he said, and he puffed out of the sheds. A few weeks later, when the engines were exhausted after their work, Millie came home from the works as good as new, and she was pulling a familiar brake van that had a familiar face. "Is that who I think it is?" said all the other trucks from the harbour. And indeed it was. Millie stopped at the harbour yards and dropped the spiteful brake van off, and she puffed away to do her duties. "You're back," said an old truck. We're happy that you came back. Welcome home, spiteful brake van," said the last 3 trucks. "It's good to be back," said the spiteful brake van. Although every time a new engine comes here, I have to be repaired less," he said. "What an awful sight steam engines are, and we don't like them. And I don't like engines because of it," he moaned. Sometimes engines can be more important than a good soul like me," he said. "And even this Millie engine doesn't know how handle troublesome trucks, said an elderly truck. She might fall off the rails again, like the last time. Even so, the spiteful brake van said, it will be our duty to knock her off the rails and teach her a lesson. Agreed, said all the other trucks. We'll do that tomorrow. But unfortunately for the trucks, they could see how gently Millie can shunt trucks and coaches. She seems like a nice engine, said the truck at the front. We shouldn't bump her, really. Agreed, said all the other trucks. We're lucky she doesn't bump us around like Oliver and Barry do when trouble came for them. Oh, groaned the trucks. Come on and hurry up, you dirty lot, shouted Alfred. What a horrid engine, said all the other trucks. You know him? Asked the spiteful brake van. Yes, they all said. This is Alfred. We bumped him up. We threw him into the sea once, and then he promised us we would bump him again after we threw Millie into the sea, and so it's time we get payback at him. Yeah, said all the other trucks. Come on now, said Alfred. He bumped them again and puffed out of Brendan docks. Moments after, Alfred and the trucks approached the bridge that leads to the hill. This time they weren't going up the Action Canyon. This time Alfred was going to be pushed down the other side to the tunnel. Then the trucks' last chance had came. Push, 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 shouted the spiteful brake van, and the trucks with their giddy ways bumped Alfred hard. On, they cried. No, cried Alfred, not again, and he went racing out of the tunnel and down the hill, went racing through the same old stations and engine sheds. Then there was trouble. Alfred came down the line too fast as he went diverted into a junction. There, in front of Alfred, was the same station where Gordon had his accident. Alfred's driver and fireman jumped clear, but Alfred shut his eyes. Oh no! Ah! Ow! Moaned Alfred. When the Fat Controller found out what happened, he spoke severely to Alfred. I will have to deal with your lying non-stock later, he said. In the meantime, I have some more important issues to attend to than that, he said. Whilst the trucks were delighted with the mess they created, Alfred began to lose track of all the messes he created on Sodor as well.